Hello everyone, welcome to Chemistry by JD, your place to understand chemistry concepts, analytical instruments, and laboratory techniques. Let's learn chemistry in a simple and practical way. In today's video, we are going to discuss some important HPLC practical and theory exam and interview questions and their answers. These questions are useful for students and professionals preparing for analytical chemistry, quality control, pharmaceutical, chemical, and R&D laboratory interviews. So, let's begin.
Question 1. What is HPLC? HPLC stands for High Performance Liquid Chromatography, or High Pressure Liquid Chromatography. It is an analytical separation technique used to separate, identify, and quantify different components present in a mixture. Question 2. What is the basic principle of HPLC? The basic principle is the differential distribution of sample components between the stationary phase and the mobile phase. Different compounds have different interactions with these two phases. Because of this difference, the compounds travel through the column at different rates and get separated. Question 3. What are the main components of an HPLC system? The basic components are the mobile phase reservoir, pump, injector or autosampler, column, detector, and data acquisition system. The mobile phase moves through the system with the help of the pump. The sample is introduced through the injector, separation occurs in the column, and the detector detects the compounds as they elute. Finally, the data system records and processes the detector signal. Question 4. What is the function of the HPLC pump? The pump delivers the mobile phase through the HPLC system at a controlled flow rate and under high pressure. A stable flow rate is very important because changes in flow can affect retention time and chromatographic separation. Question 5. Why does HPLC require high pressure? HPLC columns are packed with very small particles. These particles provide high resistance to the flow of the mobile phase. Therefore, a high-pressure pump is required to push the mobile phase through the packed column at the desired flow rate. Question 6. What is the mobile phase? The mobile phase is the liquid phase that carries the sample through the HPLC column. Depending on the method, it may contain solvents such as water, methanol, or acetonitrile, along with buffers or other additives.
Question 7. What is the stationary phase? The stationary phase is the material packed inside the HPLC column. It interacts with the different components of the sample. Because each compound interacts differently with the stationary phase, the compounds move through the column at different rates, producing separation. Question 8. What is a C18 column? C18 refers to an octadecyl silane bonded stationary phase. It is a non-polar stationary phase and is commonly used in reversed phase HPLC. C18 columns provide good retention and separation for a wide range of compounds, which is why they are widely used in analytical laboratories. Question 9. What is an injector or autosampler? Its main function is to introduce a defined volume of sample into the mobile phase stream. In an autosampler, the instrument can automatically inject multiple samples according to a programmed sequence. This improves consistency and reduces manual handling. Question 10. What is retention time? Retention time is the time from injection until the maximum of a particular chromatographic peak reaches the detector. Retention time can help identify a compound by comparing its value with that of a reference standard under the same chromatographic conditions. Question 11. What is a chromatogram? A chromatogram is the graphical representation of the detector response as a function of time. Usually, time is shown on the x-axis and detector response on the y-axis. The separated components appear as individual peaks. Question 12. What does peak area represent? Peak area is related to the amount of analyte reaching the detector. Question 13. What is isocratic elution? In isocratic elution, the composition of the mobile phase remains constant throughout the chromatographic run. For example, if the method uses a fixed ratio of water and acetonitrile, that ratio remains unchanged during the analysis. Question 14. What is gradient elution? In gradient elution, the composition of the mobile phase changes according to a predefined program during the chromatographic run. Gradient elution is particularly useful when a sample contains compounds with significantly different retention characteristics. Question 15. What is reversed phase HPLC? In reversed phase HPLC, The stationary phase is relatively nonpolar, and the mobile phase is relatively polar. A C18 column is a common example of a reversed phase stationary phase. This mode is widely used because it is suitable for many organic compounds. Question 16. What is the role of the detector? The detector detects compounds as they leave the column. It converts the response of the analyte into an electrical signal, which is then processed by the data system to produce the chromatogram. Common detectors include UV visible, photodiode array, fluorescence, and refractive index detectors. Question 17. Why is the mobile phase filter? Filtration removes particulate matter from the mobile phase. These particles can block the system, damage the column, increase pressure, and affect chromatographic performance. Question 18. Why is the mobile phase degassed? The mobile phase can contain dissolved gases. If these gases form bubbles inside the HPLC system, they can cause unstable flow, pressure fluctuations, noise, and detector problems. Degassing helps minimize these issues.
Question 19. What is system suitability? System suitability is a set of tests used to verify that the HPLC system and chromatographic method are performing properly before or during analysis. Depending on the method, parameters may include retention time repeatability, peak area repeatability, theoretical plates, resolution, and tailing factor. Question 20. What causes peak tailing? Peak tailing can occur because of strong secondary interactions between the analyte and the stationary phase. Other possible causes include column contamination, inappropriate mobile phase conditions, overloading, or problems with the chromatographic system. The exact cause should be investigated based on the method and chromatogram. Question 21. What causes peak fronting? Peak fronting is commonly associated with column overloading. It can also occur because of problems with the stationary phase or inappropriate sample conditions. Reducing the sample load and checking the column condition can help investigate the problem. Question 22. What is resolution? Resolution describes how well two neighboring chromatographic peaks are separated from each other. Higher resolution generally means better separation between the two compounds. Resolution depends on factors such as column efficiency, selectivity, and retention. Question 23. What are theoretical plates? Theoretical plates are a measure of column efficiency. A higher number of theoretical plates generally indicate better column efficiency and narrower peaks under comparable conditions. It is one of the important parameters used to evaluate chromatographic performance. Question 24. What is tailing factor? Tailing factor is a measure of the symmetry of a chromatographic peak. A perfectly symmetrical peak has a value close to 1. An increased tailing factor indicates greater peak asymmetry and may suggest problems with the method, column, or analyte interaction. Question 25. What would you check if HPLC pressure suddenly increases? Suppose the HPLC pressure suddenly increases. What would you check? First, check the mobile phase filters and the flow path for blockage. Then check the guard column and analytical column. Also verify the mobile phase, tubing, frits, and other components for possible blockage or precipitation. A sudden pressure increase should not be ignored because it can indicate a restriction somewhere in the flow path. Question 26. What would you check if there is no peak? Suppose you inject a sample and no peak appears. What could be the reason? Several possibilities should be checked. First, verify that the sample was prepared correctly and actually contains the analyte. Then check the injection sequence, vial position, autosampler operation, mobile phase flow, detector settings, wavelength, and column condition. It is important to troubleshoot the problem systematically rather than immediately assuming that the column is faulty.
So these were some important HPLC interview questions and answers. Memorize the definitions. Try to understand the principle and the function of each component. If you found this video useful, subscribe to Chemistry by JD for more chemistry concepts, analytical instruments, laboratory techniques, learning, keep improving, and all the best for your interview.